The broadcast was supposed to be routine, just another heated panel about the chaos surrounding the Trump family. But what happened stunned everyone watching. Ivanka Trump, usually polished and careful, suddenly erupted in rage when Representative Jasmine Crockett dropped a revelation that no one saw coming. The panel went silent as Crockett's words cut through the air like a blade. She said without hesitation that the carefully crafted image of Melania Trump was hiding something explosive from the past, something that the world deserved to know. Gasps filled the studio. Social media feeds lit up instantly, and the tension rose so fast that it felt like the nation itself was holding its breath. Ivanka tried to interrupt, her voice sharp, demanding that Crockett stop immediately, but the Congresswoman pressed forward, unfazed. The clash was raw, unscripted, and filled with energy that no producer could have planned. The sense of scandal was immediate. This was not gossip whispered in political backrooms. This was live, unfiltered, and undeniable. By the time Crockett finished her first sentence, the bombshell had already ignited a firestorm that could not be put out. For the first time in years, Ivanka looked completely shaken, and America could not look away. In the minutes that followed, the panel scrambled to regain control, but Jasmine Crockett had already set the tone. She leaned forward, her voice steady yet charged, reminding the audience that this was not the first time questions had surrounded Melania Trump's past. For years, whispers had circulated about her life before entering the Trump orbit, about the compromises and secrets buried deep beneath her glamorous image. Most networks avoided the subject, fearing legal fire, but Crockett had just broken the dam live on air. She explained that the timing mattered. The Trump family was already under siege, with new controversies piling up daily, and public trust was splintering. Bringing Melania into the spotlight was more than personal, it was political. Crockett declared that the people had the right to know who was standing at the center of power, shaping narratives and influencing decisions behind the scenes. As her words spread, newsrooms across America erupted. Headlines flashed. Crockett targets Melania, Ivanka explodes on live TV, Trump image under fire. Social media turned into a battlefield. Hashtags trended worldwide, memes flooded every platform, and both supporters and critics rushed to claim the moment as proof of what they had always believed. Ivanka, however, was not silent. She snapped back, accusing Crockett of slander, of exploiting family pain for cheap political theater. But her anger only added gasoline to the fire. Commentators noted how uncharacteristic it was for Ivanka to lose composure so publicly, and that loss of control only amplified the sense that something real was at stake. By the end of the hour, the lines had been drawn. Crockett positioned herself as a fearless truth-teller, while Ivanka stood cornered, defending the image of her stepmother with visible desperation. The conflict was no longer just about one statement. It was about credibility, transparency, and whether the Trump family could still shield itself from the kind of exposure that Jasmine Crockett had just unleashed. The exchange escalated with each passing minute. Ivanka raised her voice, something she rarely did in public, accusing Jasmine Crockett of fabricating lies for political gain. Her words came out sharp, almost trembling with fury, but Crockett didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned into the storm, declaring that the truth had been buried for too long and that America deserved answers. "You can try to silence me, Ivanka," Crockett fired back, "but you can't silence the truth. And the truth is that Melania's past has never been what the Trump family wants the world to believe." The audience in the studio gasped, and the moderator struggled to cut in, but the clash had taken on a life of its own. Ivanka demanded that Crockett retract her statements immediately, calling them disgraceful and un-American. But Crockett only pressed harder. She hinted at documents, testimonies, and whispers from those who had once been close to Melania before the Trump name transformed her life. Each sentence landed like a blow, stripping away the aura of untouchable glamour that the family had spent years constructing. Reporters covering the segment live began tweeting every line, and within minutes, clips of Ivanka's red-faced anger and Crockett's unshaken defiance spread like wildfire. News networks replayed the footage on a loop. Political commentators argued fiercely. Was Crockett crossing a line, or was she exposing what everyone else was too afraid to say? Other voices joined the fray, allies of the Trump family rushed to cable news studios denouncing Crockett as opportunistic and cruel. Yet on the other side, critics celebrated her as fearless, finally daring to puncture the myth of the Trump dynasty. Even rival politicians, usually cautious about touching such personal matters, began hinting that if Crockett had evidence, the public deserved to see it. Ivanka, trapped between defending her stepmother and containing the fallout, grew more frantic. Her interruptions turned into outright shouting matches, and the contrast was striking. Crockett calm, deliberate, and piercing. Ivanka emotional, defensive, and increasingly unsteady. The more she fought, the more she seemed to confirm that there was something to hide. By the end of the night, the story had grown far beyond one television segment. It had become the #1 topic in America: Ivanka versus Crockett, Melania's past under the microscope, and a question hanging over the nation. What exactly was hidden, and why was the Trump family so desperate to keep it buried? The studio atmosphere reached breaking point as Jasmine Crockett leaned closer to the microphone, her voice sharp with precision. She declared that she was ready to name the details America had been denied. For a moment, Ivanka froze, her eyes wide, as Crockett laid out the claim, documents and testimonies pointing to a chapter of Melania's past that the Trump family had fought desperately to erase. "This isn't rumor," Crockett said, her tone unwavering. "This is proof that the image sold to the American people was built on deception, and the public has a right to know." The words detonated like an explosion. Gasps filled the studio. The moderator's attempts to intervene failed, and Ivanka erupted. She slammed the table, shouting that Crockett had crossed a line, screaming that she would not allow her stepmother to be dragged through the mud. Her voice cracked under the pressure, her polished facade crumbling in front of millions. But Crockett didn't back down. She revealed snippets of what she claimed were first-hand accounts, pieces of a narrative that painted Melania not as the silent, graceful figure the world knew, but as someone entangled in deals, connections, and decisions that had never come to light. Every sentence was a knife, and Ivanka's attempts to interrupt only made the moment more chaotic. Outside the studio, chaos spread faster than wildfire. News tickers flashed. Crockett drops bombshell on Melania's past. Social media platforms erupted in disbelief, speculation, and fury. Hashtags surged globally. Hashtag Melania bombshell, #Ivanka meltdown, #Crockett truth. Clips of Ivanka shouting replayed endlessly, while Crockett's calm, razor-sharp delivery was hailed by critics as a masterclass in political courage. Even Trump loyalists, normally quick to mount a wall of defense, stumbled. Some dismissed the claims outright, others insisted Crockett was lying, but their frantic tone only deepened the impression that something was cracking inside the once impenetrable family narrative. The most shocking moment came when Crockett delivered her final line of the night. "You can deny it all you want, Ivanka, but America is awake now, and the truth cannot be hidden forever." The studio erupted. Ivanka's fury turned to near hysteria, and the broadcast cut to break as producers scrambled to regain control. But it was too late. The damage was done. The bombshell was live, and there was no taking it back. When the broadcast returned from break, nothing felt the same. The tension in the studio lingered like smoke after an explosion. Ivanka Trump sat visibly shaken, her voice trembling as she tried to defend her stepmother, but the damage was irreversible. The world had already absorbed Jasmine Crockett's bombshell, and no amount of denial could erase the words that had been spoken live on air. Across America, the fallout was immediate. Commentators described the moment as a political earthquake. Supporters of the Trump family accused Crockett of orchestrating a vicious smear campaign, calling her ruthless and unethical. Yet for millions of others, the Congresswoman's defiance struck a chord. They saw her as fearless, a rare voice willing to confront power head-on, no matter how untouchable it seemed. In the days that followed, the divide only deepened. Conservative outlets rallied behind Ivanka, playing clips of her emotional defense as proof of loyalty and strength. Liberal voices amplified Crockett's words, demanding further investigation into Melania's past. The country fractured once again along familiar lines, each side convinced it was witnessing either the destruction of lies or the birth of a dangerous new precedent. But beyond the politics, something deeper resonated. Viewers couldn't shake the image of Ivanka, usually so controlled, losing her composure in real time. It symbolized a crack in the Trump dynasty, a reminder that no matter how carefully power is packaged, it can unravel in an instant. Crockett's line echoed across the airwaves. America is awake now, and the truth cannot be hidden forever. It became a rallying cry, plastered across headlines, memes, and protest signs. The scandal was no longer just about Melania's past. It had transformed into a referendum on truth, secrecy, and the myths that powerful families build around themselves. The Trump name, once wielded as a symbol of dominance, now carried the weight of suspicion and unanswered questions. As the dust settled, one truth remained undeniable. The night Jasmine Crockett went head-to-head with Ivanka Trump, the political landscape shifted. The carefully guarded narrative of the Trump family had been pierced, and America was left to grapple with what that meant for its future. For some, it was vindication. For others, it was chaos. But for everyone, it was unforgettable. And in that silence after the storm, one message rang louder than all the shouting. No empire, no matter how powerful, can remain untouched when the truth finally breaks through.